Chevrolet built these cars, proved they worked, and then the cars got banned. These are 10 Chevrolet cars. So good, they buried them. Let's get into it. First on the list is the 1955 Chevrolet Biscayne. It debuted at the GM Motorama in 1955, and right away it made clear that Chevrolet was thinking about something very different from the boxy family sedans of the era. The Biscayne was a 4-door, pillarless hardtop with suicide rear doors, swivel front seats that rotated outward when the doors opened, and a speed warning system with 10 circular windows across the instrument panel that lit up in increasingly intense shades of red the road speed climbed. What is fascinating is how much of it was theater. There were no side windows, the switches were dummies, and the instruments were non-functional. The car had no battery or fuel tank. It pointed directly at the cleaner, more architectural styling Chevrolet would adopt in the following decade. The Biscayne name was given to a production sedan in 1958, though that car looked nothing like this concept. The original show car quietly faded from the record, making it one of the most influential, forgotten designs Chevrolet ever built. At number 2, it is the 1961 Chevrolet Mako Shark. The story behind this car starts not in a design studio, but on a fishing boat. Bill Mitchell, General Motors head of design, caught a Mako Shark off the coast of Florida and was so captivated by its color gradient, blue-gray fading into white, that he brought the idea straight back to Detroit. He had the Shark mounted on the wall of his office and instructed designer Larry Shinoda to paint the car to match it exactly. After repeated failed attempts, the team reportedly kidnapped the mounted fish one night and repainted it to match the car instead. Mitchell never noticed the difference. Shinoda built the XP755 on a 1961 Corvette chassis and pushed every dimension further than the production car dared to go. The nose was longer, the tail got 6 brake lights instead of 4, and the roof was a clear Lexan bubble with a periscope-style rearview mirror built into it. After the show circuit, Mitchell drove it as his personal car. It lives today at the General Motors Heritage Center in Sterling Heights, Michigan. At number 3, this is the 1963 Chevrolet Mako Shark II. If the original Mako Shark was aggressive, this one was predatory. Bill Mitchell pushed the concept further still, and what came out in 1965 looked less like a car and more like something that had emerged from a reef at speed. The body was lower and wider, and the silhouette had a menace no production Corvette had yet achieved. It was built on a 1963 Corvette chassis with a 427 cubic inch V8, making around 500 horsepower. Thermostatically controlled hood doors opened to release heat. When it appeared on the show circuit, it caused an immediate sensation: the Mako Shark. Two directly shaped the C3 that arrived in 1968. The long hood, the aggressive curves, the tapered tail. All of it made the jump to production. The car is now part of the General Motors Heritage Collection. At number 4, it is the 1964 Chevrolet XP819. This was an experiment built to answer a single question. What would happen if you put the engine at the very back of a Corvette, not mid-engine, but fully rear-mounted, the way a Porsche 911 was laid out. Engineer Frank Winchell ran the project quietly, and the result was a running prototype with a 327 cubic inch small block V8 hung behind the rear axle. In practice, test drivers reported severe oversteer that was difficult to control at the limit. Chevrolet shelved the project. The prototype was later painted and displayed as a show car to avoid raising questions about why it existed at all. It gave engineers hard data on exactly which direction not to go. At number 5, we have the 1965 Chevrolet Mako Shark to Geneva show car. In 1966, Chevrolet sent the Mako Shark 2 to the Geneva Motor Show with a full convertible conversion. The hardtop was replaced with an open-top configuration, and the interior was completely revised in red leather. The Geneva version added side exhausts through sculpted openings in the rocker panels, and it wore a deeper shade of blue-green that photographed dramatically under the show lights. The feedback. Chevrolet brought home fed directly into the styling philosophy behind the C3. This version does not survive as a separate vehicle today. At number 6, we have the 1968 Chevrolet Corvette Sportwagon. In 1968, Chevrolet built a one-off concept to explore whether the Corvette platform could support something far more practical. The Sportwagon was a shooting brake prototype with an extended roofline sweeping back over a full cargo area, built on the C3 platform and powered by a 427 V8. Management said no before it ever reached the public. It was shown only internally, then scrapped. No promotional photos were taken, and no press kit was prepared. For decades, the car existed as nothing more than a rumor among Corvette historians, until a small number of archive photos finally confirmed it had been real. You cannot find footage or a walk-around. The Sportwagon left almost no trace, which is arguably the most revealing thing about how seriously Chevrolet took the idea. You are halfway through, and the next 4 cars are where things get genuinely strange. One of them was approved for production, named, dated for release, and still never built. At number 7, we have the 1976 Chevrolet Aerovette. This is the car that had the green light for production and still never made it. The story begins in 1969, when Zora Arkus Duntov built 2 XP-82 prototypes with a mid-mounted V8. John DeLorean killed the program immediately, then reversed that decision when Ford announced it would sell the De Tomaso Pantera through Lincoln Mercury dealers. The concept evolved into a 4-rotor Wankel version with 420 horsepower before the energy crisis killed the rotary program. In 1976, Bill Mitchell pulled the car from storage, swapped in a 400 cubic inch V8, added folding gullwing doors, and renamed it the Aerovette. General Motors formally approved it for the 1980 model year. Then Duntov and Mitchell both retired. The new chief engineer, David McClellan, had no interest in mid-engine cars. The project was canceled in 1979. The C8 Corvette that finally went mid-engine in 2020 is, in a very direct line, the car Duntov spent his career trying to build. At number 8, we have the 1977 Chevrolet Corvette Turbo. Emissions regulations had strangled the C3 Corvette from 435 horsepower in 1966 down to 205 horsepower by 1975. Engineers began looking at turbocharging as a way to recover what the regulations had taken. The result was a C3 prototype fitted with a Garrett turbocharger on the small block V8. The gains were real, but reliability was not there yet. The project was set aside. Unlike every other car on this list, the turbo prototype was never displayed and never photographed for a press release. It was a working test mule, used and shelved. No images of it exist in the public record. The technology fed into turbocharged GM engines through the 1980s, but the car itself was never meant to be seen, and it never was. At number 9, we have the 1986 Chevrolet Corvette Indy. The Corvette Indy was a full running concept built with Lotus, intended as a serious technical statement. It was mid-engined, twin-turbocharged, and all-wheel drive with fully functional four-wheel steering and active suspension that adjusted in real time. The cockpit lifted forward in a single canopy piece, and the interior featured a heads-up display projecting speed and navigation data onto the windshield. When it appeared at the 1986 Detroit Auto Show, it looked like a genuine preview of the next Corvette generation. It was not, at least not directly, but its influence runs through almost every major engineering decision on the C5 and C6 programs that followed. At number 10, we have the 1990 Chevrolet Corvette CERV-3. CERV stood for Chevrolet Engineering Research Vehicle. By 1990, the program had become a full supercar study. The CERV-3 was a mid-engined coupe with a twin-turbocharged 5.7-liter aluminum V8 producing 650 horsepower, all-wheel drive, and a computer-controlled torque system that split power between axles in milliseconds. 0 to 60 in 3.9 seconds. Top speed over 200 miles per hour. Chevrolet engineers called it a genuine attempt to understand what competing with a Ferrari F40 would actually require. It was never intended for production at a Corvette price point, but almost every technical system in it found its way into later production vehicles. It remains one of the most technically ambitious concepts Chevrolet ever completed. Those are 10 cars Chevrolet hoped you would never hear about. Subscribe, because there are plenty more where those came from.